Oh, there we go. Both making sure that we are nice and hydrated before we go live, but we should now be live for everyone to see, Karl.
Yes, so welcome to another episode of the Wiki Weekdays podcast. As my lovely co-host Lucas mentioned, I am your host for this week. And the Wiki Weekdays podcast, for anyone unfamiliar with the format or the gimmick, is that myself, Karl Smallwood, and my co-host Lucas
Hello there!
will scour lengths and breadths of the internet to find a wiki on a subject we're interested in and then bring it forward for discussion. And we like to let our audience join in, and they can join in many ways. One of the simplest is just to vote on which wiki you thought won this week. And the way you can do that is by going down to a Discord. You can find a link below and just voting on the poll that we'll put up there after this episode goes live. And let us know which wiki you thought brought forward the best discussion. So not necessarily the one that's on the subject you're most interested in, but the one you thought inspired the most interesting, funny, or amusing discussion. And
Yes,
last week, what did we talk about, Lucas? Because I brought forward Yoshimitsu of the Tekken franchise, and you brought forward...
I brought something that I thought was quite interesting, which is the show QI. Quite interesting.
Yeah, and Yoshimitsu kicked its ass.
Yeah. Like, unfortunately, I'm just like, okay, cool. I guess, quite interesting is not interesting enough.
To be fair, the thing they were competing against, or the thing the show was competing against, is a character from a video game known as the Mechanized Space Ninja.
Yes,
that's pretty interesting, right? Robot ninja is pretty awesome. So congratulations to me. I win 1 internet point this week. But there are other ways people can join in, can't they, Lucas? And you're going to describe one of those right now.
Well, I am just going to mention for all of those lovely folks watching live, just, little thing to help out, make sure to let us know that, like, the audio's okay. We tweaked it, like, a few times before we went live, and I think we should be balanced, but I was, like, coming out a little bit louder than Karl, so please just let us know live so we can fix that nice and quickly if that's not great. But
yeah, no matter how much I screamed into the microphone, we couldn't get them to balance out, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's always that thing of, like, I need you to be a bit louder without peaking, right? And then just crunching that audio.
It's like you need to be loud, but not duck loud.
Exactly. Duck. But another way that people can contribute, Karl, is by, either submitting pictures by being a Patreon or just generally voting towards Pet of the Week.
This week's Pet of the Week is an interesting one, because anyone watching the video version of this video knows that the Pet of the Week is Sinister Cat. And that is not the name of the cat. That is the name given to the cat. And according to the member of our Discord who submitted this photo, which was then voted on as the Pet of the Week for this episode, it is simply a cat that was lost in the depths of the hotel in which they work. And when they spotted them on the camera and went down to let them out, that is how they found the cat sitting, waiting, menacing. And just the idea of, like, just the cat being there, like, I expected you. It's almost like you should have minions, right?
Yeah, like, it literally feels like it's sat there, like, what the fuck? What took you so long?
Yeah. Just Sinister Cat, because, like, presumably during the break, the full image will go on screen. It doesn't do justice as how empty the area in which this cat is sat is, right? This is in a completely empty hallway that's obviously not used by people, and it's just there of, like, so...
Yeah, so, like, I'll add the full image of Cat, like, for anyone watching video version. And, I love everyone for listening to the audio version or listening, like, with their phones locked on YouTube Premium. Like, that's how I normally consume my podcasts. But, like, I implore you to just take a quick sneak peek at, like, the full image right now of the cat.
Of Sinister Cat. Or you can go into our Discord and just scroll up ever so slightly and you will see, like, Sinister Cat in all of their sinister glory. But it's just, every now and again, just you see an animal, it's like, that animal's got a backstory, right? Like, what is that animal up to? I don't like it.
That's the thing, is maybe that cat does have minions. Maybe that's the leader of, like, a cat mafia that's pissed off that it got locked in a corridor and can't do its business.
Or it was just scoping out the hotel to commit various cat-related crimes. We will never know. Come up with your own stories for what Sinister Cat was up to in the comment section below. And one of the ways that people can support the podcast is by joining us over on our Patreon. And there are numerous benefits to joining us on Patreon. Most of them are intangible. Like, the main way is that you get the warm, fuzzy feeling of helping us make content and knowing that you, in some small way, help contribute to the content that we make. But in a more material sense, you'll also gain access to exclusive content, and we'll also be one of the people who can say, hey, my name's at the end of your videos and on screen right now, yes?
Yeah, so everyone at the, like, £10 tier right now is on, like, our lovely video version of the podcast, you can see those names going like fading in and out above us, and then you will also just know that we have like a special shout out tier at like the like top tier on our Patreon at like 20 quid, and just that means that we will make sure that we shout out people at the end of the video with fun clips. But for the podcast, we've just decided to like incorporate that as a shout out within the intro, so that we don't have to fiddle about adding like a video onto the end of a live stream and stuff.
Which is difficult. It's not impossible. It's just a huge pain in the ass, and it's a huge pain in the ass we can't really be bothered to do, because the end of this podcast is like 10 o'clock at night for us, which is normally when I go to bed.
Yeah, exactly. So, Karl, we do have like the names of the people in our shout out tier, and we have like been pronouncing one name wrong, so we must apologize, and we will, of course, for like the pre-recorded like shout outs, if you continue to be in that tier, we will adjust for like next month's recordings. But the first person that we have to shout out is B of Awesome.
Yes, and then apparently we've been pronouncing this incorrectly. I've been saying it as Dan Daly, but it's Dan Dealey.
I think it was Dan Daly.
Dan Daly, okay. Because as in Dandelion, but I was just Dan Daly, like Tom Daly, the swimmer. I just saw that last name, so I do apologise for mispronouncing that. But we do appreciate that the person did reach out to correct us on the pronunciation and wasn't annoyed about it.
Yeah, and we would we encourage anyone, if we are getting your names wrong in any way, let us know. But we also would like to shout out Michael Tatum.
And then finally, Woo Won King Day Willy Wonka, which is the fact someone's like, they want me to say that out loud. I'll say that out loud all day. That's a great name.
It is. And, speaking of making us like say silly things by paying us, you can also support us directly while we are live by sending in super chats. And today we are going to be doing things a little bit differently, in just the way that I will let you know right now. If you want to get any super chats in, you can comment or ask questions on just the general topics of both golf and the video games Injustice. So those are the two like general topics we're going to be covering today. So if you've got any like comments or questions to super chat in, we will make sure to go through all of those at very least before the end of the podcast, if not sooner.
Yes. But they're like the two topics, like broadly, what we're going to be discussing over the course of the next hour or so. And there's, I guess, one final thing to shout out will be we will be accepting votes for which wiki won this week on this podcast. But next week's podcast is going to be a special one, because it's another one of our guest podcasts. So we won't be able to have people vote on that, because there's only one topic.
There will just be one topic, as we have been doing with our guest podcasts. And yeah, we will not announce the guest of next week's podcast. Just, there's somebody that we reached out to and we had a fun discussion with, and we'd like to keep that as like a fun surprise for next week.
They're also way more talented and committed to the idea of content creation than we are. So I think we started the thing by like we got like the I am Jon Snow bit in, right? But what's it you do online then? They went through like a list of like 20 different things they do. We're like, we run a podcast.
We have Wiki Weekends.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. But Lucas, I digress. You mentioned Injustice. So is that the topic you brought for us to discuss today? Is this your wiki?
It is. So it comes off the back of, once again, more news that, upset me a little bit, of like, hey, Warner Bros. In general, but Warner Bros. Interactive, who run like the gaming section of Warner Bros., don't have a clue what the fuck they're doing at all, right? They're just morons.
We mentioned that we don't like mispronouncing names and words, and you did mispronounce something there, because it's pronounced bunch of arseholes.
It's bunch of arseholes Interactive.
Yep.
Where just like more layoffs happened, more studio closed down, like blah 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 blah. But I didn't want to focus on like the negative side of things too much, because hey, we're trying to be here to be in like, entertaining and hopefully like bring light-hearted subjects, not like mass layoffs and shit.
Yeah, like there's presumably going to be a dozen other YouTubers talking about the negative side. So go listen to those, I suppose. They get free shout out.
Yeah, so I've spent the last day listening to like game news podcasts and stuff that are like, man, this sucks. And I'm like, let's think back instead to a time where things were a little bit brighter in the Warner Bros. Interactive, just, story, so to speak. And that is going back to Injustice Gods Among Us from 2013.
So the future looked bright, but the story of that game was anything but, because that's the Injustice storyline, which takes a well-worn trope and does it, I think, quite well. It's probably one of
Pretty
the
well.
better ways the evil Superman storyline has been told, where...
And also bear in mind, like, we weren't that deep into the catalogue of mainstream media where, like, what if Superman was bad? Obviously, the Injustice comics came alongside Injustice the game, and
I mean, Injustice comics are good.
Yeah, the Injustice comics were good, and you oddly say had, like, the Red Sun DC comic book run, right? Where it's like Superman AV was born and raised in Russia instead, I believe, right?
Yes, and it's really funny because Red Sun Superman cares more about people than Zack Snyder Superman.
Yeah.
Like Red Sun Superman, because it's communist Superman. He wears like the hammer and sickle on his chest instead of a Superman symbol. There's a part of the comic where he's like rescuing a farmer. You know, it's an average citizen. And even though it's done for propaganda purposes, like Superman himself believes that propaganda, that's how they control him. And he talks about how, like, well, I should obviously use this power to protect the people. I should share my power with the people, even though there's people at the top who are controlling him sharing his power. But yeah, like the evil dickhead Superman controlled by Joseph Stalin cares more about people than Zack Snyder's version of Superman.
And that's the thing, right? Is like Zack Snyder's take, all we'd had up to this point, I believe, was just Man of Steel. And Man of Steel, like, you know, had good action, questionable Superman, but just, it wasn't evil Superman, right? It was just very
close to it.
It was just a very dark tone in a Superman and a DC universe. It wasn't what if Superman was the bad guy.
It was libertarian Superman, which is about as close to it as you can get, right? It's just because Zack Snyder's just a huge fucking libertarian, and
but obviously,
ascribes to the ideals of Ayn Rand.
Yeah, and obviously, like, you know, you could argue that it gets like even more towards like dark Superman as you go into like Batman vs Superman, Justice League, then the Zack Snyder Justice League, where he gets like the dark suit and everything, and
then the glimpse into the future where Superman has become a dictator, which is, I'm going to guess, somewhat inspired by the Injustice comics, because that's what happens in that universe.
Potentially, yes. And then we got, like, obviously Injustice 2. We've also had, like, the Invincible comics became more mainstream with the Amazon Prime introduction, like the video version of it, and, like, then you've got The Boys as well. So we've had so much media since Injustice that's like, what if Superman were bad?
Yes, and Injustice handles it very well, and anyone unfamiliar with what makes Superman snap in the Injustice universe, it's very simple. It's the Joker kills Lois Lane.
It's fucking valid, right?
Yeah, it's Joker sets off a bomb that kills Lois Lane, and Superman just says, fuck this, and kills the Joker. Well, and Batman gets really mad about it.
Bear in mind, he sets off, like, a nuke in the middle of Metropolis, right? So it's not just killing Lois Lane, it's nuking Metropolis, and he's like, Batman, you could have fucking done this at any point.
Yeah, and it's very believable that Superman would snap in that way, where he loses the one tenuous connection he has to humanity, the relationship with Lois Lane. And just, I am 100% on Superman's side, right up until he sets up the Superman death camps.
Of course, like, the moment he becomes actual Nazi Superman, it's like, oh, killing the Joker, I'm on your side.
Yeah, it's like, and that's the problem, right? Of I am 100% on board with the idea of killing someone like the Joker. He is completely irredeemable.
Like, at the point of, like, you know, we have tried to, you know, put him in correctional facilities. We put him in mental asylums. We've tried to keep him incarcerated, and he keeps breaking out, and he keeps mass murdering over and over again. At a certain point, as a person who doesn't believe in the death penalty, in an exaggerated universe like that, I then start to change my opinion.
Yeah, it's the thing of like, I, like yourself, I don't believe in the death penalty, because in our universe, there's way too many. Like, the existence of a single false positive completely demolishes the system. It can't exist. But in a universe where you have, like you said, it's cartoonish, elevated logic, and you have the ability to know 100% for sure that someone committed the crime, and that crime is detonating a nuke in a like populated area, throw them into the sun.
Like, the moment that he's like, hey, I'm going to launch, like, Joker gas into the city and start,
he brands it, right?
He brands it as his own crime.
Like, imagine trying to defend that in court, right? If like, well, my client's innocent, it's called Joker gas. Like he branded it, right? He trademarked it.
He branded his own crimes.
Yeah, it's like the character of Zaz in Batman comics, where you literally have proof of how many people he's killed because his gimmick is every time he kills somebody, he carves another slash into his skin.
Mm-hmm. He tallies the amount of kills he's got on his body, and his body is covered in tally marks.
Yeah, and it's like when it gets to that point where he's carving like the 400th mark into his skin. Again, I don't. There's a difference you can draw between that kind of like evil and someone who like kills their wife in like a fit of passion or something like that. It's like they're not going to kill someone ever again.
Even like serial killers in real life, right? We can put them away. Whereas there's like there's a problem with the locks at Arkham Asylum, where they keep just walking back out.
Like serial killers don't randomly escape and kill more people, and the few times in history that has ever happened, they get generally caught very quickly and usually shot to death by the police.
Yeah, it's not a weekly fucking occurrence of them walking back out of Arkham Asylum and killing more people.
And it's like, I am 100% on Superman's side. It's the problem. So what do we call it, Lucas, with heroes having a point but then taking it too far?
Well, it's the Killmonger problem, right?
The Killmonger problem. Why do we call it the Killmonger problem?
Because throughout the first 2 acts of Black Panther, Killmonger isn't necessarily a bad guy. Like, the movie opens with, him killing a couple of people, but he's also like, hey, you see all of these artifacts that belong to my culture that you all fucking murders all and stole? I'm coming to claim it back.
Yep, and his argument of, hey, Wakanda has all this, like, you are like a 35th century metropolis. You've got technology and ability light years beyond what the rest of the world has. There's a lot of people who look like us who have been dealt a pretty shitty hand that you could help at any point and chose not to.
He's like, I was a person that was like part of, your lineage, and because I wasn't in Wakanda, I got fucking abandoned. I had to deal with living in, a poor part of an American city, getting shat on, having no chances in life, and like, maybe you should think about other people, especially people that are like us.
Yes. And the problem is that that's a very, very good point. And also, it raises some uncomfortable analogues to real life. And Disney and other companies don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. They want to reference it, but they don't want to acknowledge that there's like issues there, systemic issues that potentially could be fixed. So what do they have Killmonger do?
Of course, he just is like, fuck it, I'm going to use that technology to murder the rest of the world.
Yes. And then in the MCU again, they have the same problem with the Flag Smashers, where the Flag Smashers have a very valid point of, do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was just basically like, hey, we live in a world where like we are asylum seekers that are now getting pushed back because people got unblipped.
Yes, and the Flag Smashers' key argument is, when the snap happened, every country on Earth suddenly needed an influx of labor and people and workers. We fulfilled that need, and now your people are back, and now you are kicking us out of your country because you no longer need us. And again, that raised some very uncomfortable analogues to the actual real world with immigrants, right? You have immigrants in America.
Immigrants, asylum seekers, etc.
They're maligned and treated like shit, despite the fact the American economy is built upon their labor. And again, Disney don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. So what do they have the Flag Smashers do halfway through the show?
It's just like the leader of the Flag Smashers, at the very least. She just like blows up a building, and he like literally one of the Flag Smashers points out, hey, that building was like full of innocent children and people. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and it's just when like a piece of media has a villain who makes a very good point that would raise some uncomfortable questions. It's like, and having the villain having the hero beat them up kind of makes it like, readers uncomfortable. Like when you have Captain America, when you have like Sam Wilson and the Winter Soldier trying to stop people whose only stated goal is, hey, give immigrants rights, it makes them look bad. So what you do is you have those characters randomly blow up a hospital and now they're fine.
Well, it's kind of the opposite way, right? With Civil War, where it's like, at least the MCU version is, hey, you guys shouldn't be allowed to just like wander into a different country and blow up a building without repercussions. It's like, that's a totally valid point. so what do you recommend? And it's like,
Yep.
well, I recommend that we're not allowed to do anything without American government interference, and we should also keep everybody on a fucking list at all times.
Yeah, they take it to the extreme so that the heroes don't ever have to change. Because there's a really great, I forget who made the point now. It's like a video essay I watched a few years ago. Like the MCU, while heroes in it, don't actually fight for change. They fight to maintain the status quo.
Yeah.
And that is so perfectly showcased at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where Sam speaks to Congress and his speech amounts to do better. Because they don't actually want to give any actual suggestions on how to be better, because they might piss someone off. Like when I say they, that's in Disney. Disney might piss someone off because if they said like, "Hey, treat immigrants and black people with respect, stop fucking attacking marginalized communities," that's not a statement they want in one of their shows because they want to remain apolitical.
And to bring it back to like, you know, the video game side of things, in that sense of like, obviously very different kind of topic in terms of how heavy it is, but you see the reaction to like a lot of flops happening recently within like Warner Bros. Interactive. I think Ubisoft said something similar recently of like, we're gonna keep making big games. And it's like, okay, so what's your actual like? It's that like thing in the office, right? Of like, we're gonna give you like 50 steps plan for 50 days or whatever, and it's like, no, their plan is like big, just we don't really big games. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't actually know, and we don't want to acknowledge the actual issue because acknowledging the actual issue would raise uncomfortable questions, such as why the fuck are you in charge?
Yeah, exactly. Like, why are you so incompetent? Why do you know nothing about the industry that you're apparently got like a fucking CEO role in?
So that's why they have, and in regards to Injustice the games, it's a very valid question of, hey, every fucking week, Batman puts a guy in prison who gets out the next week and shoots 40 people. And Superman's point of, this guy's a fucking menace, get rid of him, but then you can't have Superman do that because then it'd make Batman wrong. So what Superman does is, he then becomes a dictator who takes over the world. It's like...
Yeah, and, you know, bringing it straight back to the games themselves, just Injustice Gods Among Us is 2013 fighting video game. The first installment in the Injustice franchise based upon the fictional universe of DC Comics. So it is kind of like its own separate storyline within DC. Like you've got, you know, many different universes and timelines and etc., comic book stuff. And just it just so happens one of these timelines is like the Injustice timeline and universe.
Yeah.
And the game was...
I was going to say, do you have like a list of everyone who joined Superman's side?
We'll get into that. I'm sure there'll be like a breakdown of like what teams are what. But the game was developed by NetherRealm Studios, published by Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment, for PS3, Wii U, and Xbox 360. And man, I forgot that was a Wii U game.
Yeah.
Like most Wii U games.
Well, it wasn't a great one.
No. And then there was an expanded version of the game, Injustice Gods Among Us Ultimate Edition, which did the classic thing, which Warner Bros. And NetherRealm like to do, which you got really pissed off with in one of the games, right? Where on the back of the box for the Ultimate Edition of these NetherRealm games, it says, like, every single character and skin in the game.
And they don't. So I remember this happened with Mortal Kombat X, and the Ultimate Edition of that game is quite fittingly called Mortal Kombat XL. And I remember it left such a sour taste in my mouth I didn't want to play the game. Where the very front of the box, I think I've got the box in the other room, I'll try and track it down during the break. It says on the front of the box, features and contains every skin released for the game so far. It says it on the front of the box. The literal first thing I got told when I booted up the game after installing it is, download the app to get an exclusive skin for Cassie Cage. It's like, but I bought the Ultimate Edition!
And a similar thing happens where it's, if you get Injustice Gods Among Us Ultimate Edition, it's like, hey, did you know that there's also a mobile app based on Injustice where it's like the mobile version of the fighting game, and it was fine, but it's like, did you know there's exclusive skins for, like, I think it's Batman, Harley Quinn, and Superman, and to like get the Superman in a like orange prison jumpsuit outfit, you had to reach like max rank or some shit in the mobile game, and that was the only way to ever get that skin.
And it was just locked to that version of the game. It was locked to that game, and you could never unlock it, even if you bought the quote-unquote ultimate complete edition. And that fucking sucks, and Warner Bros. Can fuck off the edge of my dick for making that the standard.
And they keep doing it where, like, I think it was, like, Injustice, Mortal Kombat X, Injustice 2, and maybe even Mortal Kombat 11 that had these same problems of, like, all skins, quote-unquote, wasn't all skins.
Yep. And then you've got, like, the Batman games, like the Arkham games, where they put in, like, different retailers got exclusive different skins that they never included in a complete version of the game.
I think you could eventually buy them as extra DLC for like £1 each or something, but it was for a while the only way to get the skins from, like, all of the skins from like Arkham Asylum or Arkham City or something was to pre-order the game from like 8 different retailers and then cancel them all last second when you get the codes.
And it sucks. And it's something that Warner Bros. Has just really pushed, and it's actively detrimental to the industry.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Awful shit.
The chasing of ever bigger profits.
But it does say as well that in the fall of 2017, months after the sequels... Oh, sorry, I was getting my sentences mixed up. So 2013 is when Injustice launched. It was talking about 2017, the Injustice 2 game. But generally, just a prequel comic book series of the same name, Injustice, written by Tom Taylor, was also released in January 2013.
And it's good to watch. Like, it's a good read as well, because you get Horse Batman. And Horse Batman is the fan nickname given to the face Batman pulls when Superman just fucking murks the Joker.
Oh, okay.
And it's, again, I don't blame Superman for doing it, because, like, when Batman's like, look, Clark, we've got to be better than this. It's like, okay, Joker killed 500,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
I can kill 499,000 and still be better than he is on paper. Fuck him, and rips his heart out.
Yeah, so it does say
the Joker comes back. He still comes back. He's in those games.
He's not in the first one, right?
But he comes back in the second one.
But then he comes back in the second one, like...
He's like a fear gas illusion.
I was going to say he comes back in the second one as an illusion, right?
Yeah.
But maybe he is in the first one too. I feel like he is in the first one. It's just like...
I think he might.
Before he got murdered kind of thing, like...
Yeah, but it's like... Those games make me fucking hate Batman. Because every time he tries to moralize with Clark about, well, we need to be better than everyone else, like, the guy you're defending killed 400,000 people, including my wife.
Mm-hmm.
You went on a one-man 30-year war against crime because one guy 30 years ago shot 2 people in an alleyway.
Yeah.
Who the fuck are you to talk about this? Like, in Injustice 2, there's an actually amazing bit where they're breaking into the prison where Superman's just executing criminals. And, like, you have Batman talking about how it's not right that he does this. Like, no one should have the ability to do this. And he's with, like, I think Damian Wayne. Or he's with one of the Robins.
I think this might be the end of Injustice 1.
It's one of them, but, like, he's with one of the Robins. The Robin says, yeah, but beating them up and leaving them, like, crippled in an alleyway is fine. And Batman doesn't have a comeback for it.
No, he just stays silent, right?
Because he knows he's wrong. And then later in that same cutscene, there's, like, 2 random goons. And both Robin and Batman walk up and just beat the living shit out of them. Mm. And Robin just looks at Batman and goes... And again, Batman doesn't say shit because he knows he's wrong. He knows that he's got no answer to that, right? Like, it's wrong that Clark is doing this. It's like, but it's okay to cripple them for life.
Yeah.
So there's a limit. You can cripple them for life, but you can't kill them.
I think you're right in saying that, like, I don't know whether he's Robin or Nightwing, but I'm pretty sure it might be Damian Wayne, yeah. But, like, either way, it's one of his sidekicks just calling him the fuck out and being like, dude.
They straight up say to Batman's face, it's okay to cripple people for life then, and Batman doesn't answer it. And he does that. He does that multiple times. And apparently that's fine. It's like, and it makes him seem like such a hypocrite. And the only reason that he's right is because Superman instantly turns into a dictator.
And
instantly.
As much as, like, you know, NetherRealm in general have done pretty good jobs with, like, having story modes since Mortal Kombat 9, like that reboot. Yeah. I think Injustice 1 might be my favourite written out of them all, out of the, like, actual story modes. Because, like, they've done a pretty good job with the stories in all of them, and they did a good job with Injustice 2 as well. But I just think Injustice Gods Among Us, the original game, was just written really fucking well, and I just say, like, gave the opportunity to have, like, this parallel universe where Superman's evil, and some characters turn from good to evil, and some from evil to good, from that perspective that Superman's side is the evil side and Batman's is the good side. And again, there's arguments of morality until Superman sets up, like, fucking murder prisons, right?
The worst part is of all those games is what they do to Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman instantly becomes like a Gestapo officer and is just murking people left and right without question.
Mm-hmm.
Her character she's probably like the most done dirty DC character in any like of all the video games, because in like that Suicide Squad game as well, she just gets absolutely like eviscerated as a character in that game because she gets killed. They never talk about her ever again, and then the ending of that game is every member of the Justice League was actually a clone, except for Wonder Woman, who got killed by clone Superman and never talked about again.
Well, you know, at least there's a Wonder Woman game coming out, right? Anyway.
But they just don't know how to write Wonder Woman.
No, they don't. And, like, you see, like, the Flash change sides, I think, at one point, and it's, like, because Billy, aka Shazam, is like, hey, Superman, don't you think we've taken this way too far? And, like, has that moment of, are we the bad guys?
Mm-hmm.
And what's Superman's response, do you remember?
He just kills him.
Not only that, he grabs him in front of the rest of the group and lasers his eyes out.
Again, that is the only reason he does that is to make him unequivocally a villain of having Superman kill a child. And it's like, I don't think, even if he snapped, Superman would ever do that. But they needed him to do that. So
they do need to. And also to provide a point where some of the other characters will go and help the Batman team, right?
Yeah. And like I said, that even if you're right in Superman, because for the most part, that Superman is exactly the same as the regular Superman. The only difference is that just his Lois Lane got killed and he snapped. Even then, that Superman wouldn't kill a child, and that's like the worst written part of that story, because the only reason they put that plot point in is to make Batman right.
Yeah,
and it's the Killmonger problem, right? They had him become a dictator and kill a child, which is something that his character would not do. But he needed to do it so that he's a villain, because otherwise his point of, hey, maybe the Joker is not someone you should let walk around on the street. You kind of lose the right to interact with society after your 400,000th murder.
Yes, exactly.
That you admit to and laugh about as well, because he laughs in Superman's face when he does it.
Yeah. It does say here that just the general storyline is set in a parallel universe within the DC Comics multiverse, where Superman has become a tyrant and established a new world order after the Joker tricked him into killing Lois Lane and destroying Metropolis.
And that's the thing as well, the Joker jokes about, like, why I didn't kill her, and it's like, you put the gun in someone's hand and told them to pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, fuck. And I hate when, like, media tries to do that as well, where the villain tries to moralize, like, hey, you're just as bad as I am. It's like, no, fuck off.
It's like, you essentially brainwashed Superman into doing this shit. And then, as you say, like, the moment he dies, like, Joker still, like, just laughs in his face in a moment of victory. Like, guess what? I fucking won. I proved my point.
Yep. And you think as well, Batman watching that would realize, hey, maybe the Joker, we were right to get rid of the Joker, because if he didn't win, he would have just tried to do it again.
He went all that way to, like, nothing I am doing is, like, extreme enough, right, to get you guys to flip. And it takes that level of effort of, like, destroying Metropolis and getting Superman to do it, where, like, Superman then is the one to snap, and Joker's like, great, I win, I've proved my point.
Yeah, and then Batman's like, Superman, you can't do that. All he did is blow up an entire city. Who's not done that?
And in an effort to stop Superman, Batman summons counterparts of the League's members from the main universe to join his insurgency and end the totalitarian regime. So I don't know if it outright states that, like, this main universe is, like, you know, the prime timeline or the New 52 timeline, whatever it was at the time in 2013. But yeah, I don't know which it's definitely from, but it's like Batman summons in another version of some of the Justice League from a more main universe to come and help in the Injustice timeline where he's like Superman's gone dark.
Including, and this is the thing of like the fact that he brings in Harley Quinn. Like he deputizes someone who was right there when the Joker was pulling the trigger. And he doesn't see any sort of hypocrisy in doing that.
I don't know if technically she was like with Joker at the time or not.
She's definitely been around with her, right?
Yeah.
She's partially responsible for a good couple of murders.
Definitely a lot of there's definitely a past between her and the Joker in that main universe, but the only thing it definitively shows is that the Joker was the one who had anything to do with that final, attack on Metropolis, etc.
But the fact that Batman has to deputize a bunch of villains.
Yeah. The fact that he's at that point crossed over his own line of working with the villains who are murderers to then try and stop Superman is I think it's the good and bad part, right? Is that they're all willing to blur lines, and as you say, some of it's a bit tropey and overworked because they have to make sure this team is the bad guys.
Yeah, like I said, the only reason Superman kills Shazam in that story is because they needed to, because otherwise you would never side against him.
Mm-hmm.
Because every time you bring up of Superman, what are you doing? It's he blew up a city.
Mm-hmm.
And Superman's I can stop all of this. I can stop all crime everywhere. And all you need to do is just let me be in charge. And he's got a really good point. When Superman's in charge, there is no crime.
There's a lot of crimes being committed by Superman.
Yeah.
But
it's very hard to argue against his logic of, hey, I'm Superman, I'm bulletproof, and no one can kill me. If I tell people not to commit crimes anymore, or I'll laser their head off, they stop committing crimes.
Mm-hmm. And just, it's one of those weird things of again, it's all there in the right and wrong ways. Some of it's really good. I really enjoyed the storyline. I admit some of it is just to make a point, but ultimately I walked away from the Injustice plot of oh, I really enjoyed that. That was a cool, different story. And again, if you go back to it now in modern times, we've had a dozen years of bad Superman-esque stories.
So it kind of by default automatically gets elevated a little bit. It's well, at least he's not. Superman might be poorly written, but he's not as poorly written as the Zack Snyder version.
And but is he as well written in Injustice as Omni-Man is in Invincible, for example? It's
No. You do get a few great moments though. I think it might be the Injustice comics where it's Plastic Man calls him out. He's Superman, you've become a tyrant. He's no, I'm not. And it's you literally sat on a throne. It's it's not, it's a chair. Or you get
it's a big chair.
You get the bit with what is it now? It's Harley Quinn and Green Arrow, where they go to the Arrow Cave, and Harley Quinn's "You're a fucking idiot. Why'd you call it the Arrow Cave? What would you call it then?" It's the Quiver.
Oh yeah.
And even Green Lantern's shit, that's a way better name. So it's called the Bat Cave because that's where bats live.
Mm-hmm.
Arrows don't live in caves; they come from quivers. Damn, that's a good name.
Yeah.
Right.
Just someone coming into chat to be a dickhead. Thank you for that. But yeah,
you know what? Good for you. You go watch another YouTuber.
Cool.
All you did is be negative. Thank you.
I appreciate it. See you later.
I will continue having a fun conversation with my friend Lucas.
But anyway, it does say here that a synopsis here is just that according to lead designer John Edwards, the plot is just meant to rationalize the game's fighting mechanics between characters that would normally not fight one another, and also explain how Batman can quote-unquote stand toe-to-toe with Superman.
Should we talk about Superman pills then?
The kryptonite pills that kind of just the do whatever the plot needs at the time pill.
Yeah, so there's what Batman does is he out of nowhere, I think he literally pulls them out of his ass.
Well, no, it's again. I think it's more covered in the comic book prequel, but as a player, you just get to the Injustice timeline, and Batman's hey, you guys, you're gonna want to take these kryptonite pills. It'll stop Superman hurting you.
Yeah. And essentially, they all take Superman pills, which gives every single person who takes them the equivalent strength of Superman. And that's fine for gameplay reasons, but what about Green Arrow's arrows? Are Green Arrow's arrows now Superman strong? Is Harley Quinn's baseball bat strong? Is it a super baseball bat or is it a regular baseball bat? Are the guns that Deathstroke shoots filled with Superman bullets or are they regular bullets?
Like, did they find a way to feed a kryptonite pill One Piece style into an inanimate object?
Yeah. Otherwise, surely, like Harley Quinn swinging a baseball bat, it should instantly shatter the moment she hits someone with Superman's level of strength.
Yeah, because as far as we're aware, she uses regular ass tools. Like, she just hits Superman with like a baseball bat or a mallet, or gets like dogs to attack her, him in Injustice 2.
And speaking of like great lines, one of my favorite intros, because that's the thing, like that game kind of started for Mortal Kombat. And the series of Injustice is the 1-2-1 conversations where person comes in, says a line, second character comes in, responds to that line, third character has a quip, or the first character has a quip. And one of the best ones is where if you play as like one of the regular, just human quote unquote characters, even though Superman knows they've taken Superman pills, they come in and like they shit talk Superman like, this is a bad idea, Clark. You shouldn't fight me. And Superman just comes and says, I'm not the one fighting Superman. Which is really, like, it's all that needs to be said, right?
Yeah. So a lot of them are like, you know, oh, you'll bring in, like, Batman versus Robin, and like, oh, you know, wait, like, Bruce, you shouldn't be doing this, stop. And he's like, you know, you're the one who needs to stop, or something like that. And I'm sure it's quippier lines than that, but just the ones where it's like, Superman, I mean, you're fighting Superman.
Yeah, well, there's a great one where it's Harley Quinn, where it's like, hey, Soups, want to hear a joke? And he says, I've got one for you. What? Harley Quinn versus Superman. Which is right?
Yeah.
You want to hear a joke? Harley Quinn versus Superman. That's not a fight, is it? That's a fucking massacre.
It is, yeah. And obviously, like, those are just the magic pills to make the plot happen. And it's fine. It's one of those if you just have to, you know, suspension of disbelief kind of thing.
I appreciate that they try to explain it, but it's really stupid. It just raises more questions than it answers.
And as far as I'm aware, in the video game, it's a one-line throwaway sentence of Bruce being like, these will make you as adorable as Superman. And my first question was, it doesn't make Harley punch as hard as him, though.
Yeah.
It's like, you might be able to not be killed by getting punched by him, but that doesn't explain why, like, you would punch as hard as Superman. Because, yeah, like, at a certain point, equally durable bodies can hurt one another, but you're still going to need, like, the actual, like, physical strength to do damage like a Kryptonian.
Yeah. So I prefer it in Mortal Kombat, where just they nebulously define that having martial arts prowess gives you super strength.
Yeah, like, why can Liu Kang turn into a dragon sometimes? Because
he's just good at martial arts.
Yeah. But yeah, there is, like, obviously a much, much longer version of the plot here, but just generally we'll, like, you know, I think we've done a good job of surmising what happens is just, like, general Superman got tricked into murdering Lois Lane by Joker, kills the Joker, becomes a dictator. The regime that Batman introduces, like, brings in another universe to take down Superman, and they defeat Superman and lock him up in the Red Prison, and that's where Injustice 2 kicks off.
Yeah, and eventually they do have to bring Superman back, because Brainiac turns up, and even Superman's like, oh, need my help then, dear? Do you need my help? And Batman refuses to admit that he's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's the thing about those games, because Batman is written to be he's written to always be right. He never admits fault, even when he's wrong. Like, in that moment where it's like, we need to get Superman, he doesn't admit that he needs Superman. He's just like, no, it's for a tactical advantage. It's like, just admit that you're fucking wrong. Like, even Superman admits that he was wrong in that game.
True, yeah. And I do like, enjoy the part, though, where kind of the beginning of the game, one of the main characters is Supergirl. And she's obviously, in classic Supergirl fashion, gone off course, arrived later than Clark, a younger cousin, would, and she's like, hey man, I'm here to help out Clark, how dare you imprison him? And then she slowly realised, like, oh.
Now, what did you do? Well, I took over the planet.
He's
That's
like,
not
what do
what
you
we do,
mean?
Clark.
It's like, oh yeah, they needed to be like restrained from themselves. It's oh, cousin. Oh no, what have you
And that's
become?
the thing, because as Batman tells him, it is not your right, just because you're powerful enough, Clark, to enforce your will upon others.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that. Anyway, I'm now going to go beat up criminals and leave them like crippled in alleyways because I'm stronger than them and have technology. And it's like, no, but it's like, God. I know that's not how he does. Just that great line from Robin where Robin just says it and Batman doesn't have an answer is so fucking funny.
Mm-hmm.
Because even the writers couldn't think of something to say that would make Batman seem like he at least is aware of the fact that he's wrong. It's like, no.
Oh god. So, I have gotten up a list here because the wiki page was very helpful and just listed all the characters that you asked about.
But he didn't tell you which side they were on.
It didn't tell you which side they were on. So
let's see if I can guess who's on which side then, or is they just in lists of which side they're on?
So what I'll do is I'll read all the playable characters.
Okay, and I've got to guess which side they're
on.
on.
Then you can guess. I have a list here of who is on like the regime, and then obviously the insurgency also has some of the same members because Batman, like for example, I think both sides have a Flash because Batman brings in the other alternate Flash.
Yeah.
But playable characters are you got Aquaman. This is just in alphabetical order.
Okay, so is he on the evil side? Is he on Superman's side?
So Aquaman is on the regime, as you can guess, is the evil side of Superman. Yes. Ares.
Well, he's got to be on the regime side, right? So he's the God of War.
Well, Ares is not listed under the regime at all.
No, is he on the other side then?
I guess so, but like I have a list here of who is on the regime, and Ares is not on there.
We could be on the neutral side. He's just the God of War.
Maybe
he likes.
I think Ares doesn't play much of a role in that plot, but I may be misremembering.
He was a weird pick as well, right?
A really weird pick, yeah. I guess they wanted more like Wonder Woman representation, maybe. We have Bane.
He's got to be on Batman's side, right?
No, he's on the regime.
Is he on the evil side?
He is, yeah.
And the thing is, he's one of the smartest people in the universe, so he knows.
You've got not listed here is Batgirl, who I think was a DLC character.
Yeah, she was DLC. She's neutral. She only adheres to one authority, and that is DLC.
And maybe Ares was DLC as well.
He might have been. What a weird pick for DLC.
Batman is obviously on Batman's side. You've got Catwoman.
She's going to be on Batman's side, right?
No, she's also listed as regime here.
Oh, man. Look at that. Clark's like, I got your girlfriend, Bruce. Now what?
Cyborg?
He's on Batman's side.
No, he's very much on the regime side.
Oh, I think he switched sides in the next game, maybe.
I think in Injustice 2 he might, yeah. That's the thing, is it's hard to necessarily remember who's on what side in Injustice 1 and 2, because there's a bit of flip-flopping.
Because most people switch sides when they realise Superman's going to lose, which goes to show they probably weren't that committed to either side, right? They just joined the winning side.
Mm-hmm.
And they just thought, well, Superman's the strongest, he's going to win.
You got Deathstroke.
Oh, he's got to be on Batman's side.
He was on Batman's side. And I love the fact that it's like just this withered old Wade just being like, I fucking had enough of this shit. Like, oh, just fuck Superman. Fuck both of you, but fuck this guy.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Aaron Black in Mortal Kombat 11, where if he wins if you beat arcade mode as Aaron Black, like the winner gets access to the Chronica's, it was the Time Titan. You gain access to an hourglass, which allows you to reshape reality as you see fit. Mm-hmm. And when Aaron Black wins, he just throws it into the ocean, like this super deep ocean with no bottom that exists on like some plane of existence that no fucker ever goes to. It's like, it's too much power. No one should have it. So I just got rid of it.
We have the Flash.
He's on both. He plays both sides.
But he is listed as one of the people that joined the regime from that universe. So, like, the Flash did betray Batman in this universe and betray the Justice League. But then Batman was like, there's got to be another better Flash out there.
Yeah, there's got to be one out there who will listen to me. See, all Superman should have done is just gone in and got a bunch of, like, people from other universes where the Joker killed their wives. and girlfriends and say, and just seeing how quickly they'd have joined him. Like, let's go find the Batman where someone like double killed his parents.
Well, to be fair to Batman, that's the one character you can't question. Because as far as Batman is aware in the comics, obviously, the Joker literally kills one of the Robins at one point. Like, Jason Todd, in Batman's eyes, no one's dead in comic books because it's comic books. But Jason Todd gets murdered, like, just crowbar first via Joker right in front of Batman. And Batman stays his course.
Yeah, and that's something that Jason Todd brings up when he comes back, of like, you really let him get away with it.
Like, you didn't kill him in response? Really? Really, yeah. Bruce?
Because that's the thing, like, Batman's moral code is that unshakable.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God. And then we go to the Green Arrow.
He's on Batman's side, right?
The billionaires have got to stick together, Karl.
That's the thing as well, right? It's like, that's the plot point that ages more poorly with every passing year. It's like, we mentioned earlier, of like, heroes beating up villains who have a point of, it gets weirder every year that you go back and watch like Poison Ivy, and her stated goal is stop polluting the earth, dipshits. I live here. And Batman, a billionaire who owns 45 companies, is trying to stop her from doing that.
She's like, I can communicate with the earth, and it is screaming, please stop.
To the point where they just made her an anti-hero, right? And not even anti, she's straight up a hero.
Her and Harley Quinn are kind of more hero side nowadays, yeah.
Just like, you can't really argue with Poison Ivy's logic of, I can commune with the earth, you are poisoning it. And there's even got a line in one of the comics where she talks about how the world cannot exist without plants. It can exist without a billionaire, and just kills this billionaire dude. It's like, the world will continue without you, but it can't continue without me. And just kills him. And it's like, it's hard to argue with it because she has a point.
Thing is, I don't think that if someone in modern times, like outright just in public, killed a billionaire, I don't think the planet would go on.
That is true.
Yeah. True words here from 2025.
I do wonder what would happen if we just started gunning down billionaires.
Have you seen the conspiracy theory of like, it's weird that Elon Musk carries around a small child with him at all times for the last 9 months?
It's not a small child, Lucas. It's his fucking bullet shield. His body flanking.
It really seems that way, right?
The only thing you need to say about it is the fact that that guy died, and within a day, his position in the company was filled. Which goes to show...
They kept going on. They went into the meetings.
Yeah, the myth about, like, oh, these billionaires, that they earn this much money because they're so valuable, and they're paid 400,000 times what the lowest ranking worker is because the company couldn't continue or
literally without replacement on the same day, they continued without him.
Yeah, like that guy got gunned down in the street like a dog, and they had him replaced within a few days, and the company continued to function without him. If the guy who did the IT, who's paid like a fraction of what he did, didn't turn up, the company would be on its ass in a day.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Anyway.
I'm going to say not the superhero name here. I'm going to say Hal Jordan.
Hal Jordan. Oh, he's on Superman's side, right? He's a cop.
Because he becomes a Yellow Lantern.
Yeah. Because he gives in to f.e.a.r because he's scared.
He's specifically listed here as Green Lantern, and it's like, Green Lantern wasn't evil. It's that Hal Jordan became a Yellow Lantern and was like, fuck this.
He gives in to f.e.a.r.
He did indeed. We've got Harley Quinn.
No, she's on Batman's side.
Hawk Girl, who...
Superman's side.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, I thought she was DLC, but she wasn't. She is listed here as Regime. Joker is a character, but obviously is just dead.
He's his own thing, right?
You have Killer Frost.
She's on Batman's side?
No, she's on Superman's side as well.
Oh, okay.
Lex Luthor.
I think he teams up with Batman because he just hates Superman so much he'd do anything, right?
And also Karl.
He's never not going to be against Superman, right?
Also Karl, the billionaires got to stick together.
Yeah, that's the thing. On Batman's side, we've got 3 billionaires. On Superman's side, we've got like an immigrant from another country. But how many immigrants and orphans are on Superman's side, and how many billionaires are on Batman's side?
Oh god, well there's at least triple billionaire on the insurgency. Which
again is not something that they would have probably paid attention to back then. but he's very like interesting now, right? Of like,
it would be interesting to see like what kind of commentary they throw in there of like fucking team billionaire over here.
like, hey,
How
Superman.
much of the world's GPD are like combined between just the Luther, Wayne, and Queen families?
It's also as well the argument of like Superman shouldn't be able to use the power that he was naturally born with to rule over the world, and Batman teams up with fucking Lex Luthor,
Mm-hmm.
who's trying to take over the world.
Who, admittedly, I do think he's a really well written character, as we talked about recently, in the sense
He's
that
a great
like
written character.
he ultimately he's similar to kind of Doctor Doom status. Like he ultimately is a guy well intentioned, trying to look after his people. He just goes about it a very wrong way a lot of the
It's like
time.
the point we make in the video when we talked about Fact Fiend is
And
that
Wiki Weekends.
is that Lex Luthor ultimately does have humanity's best interests in mind, but he sees things on such a broad scale that he will overlook like the few people he's got to step over to get to the future he foresees, in which humanity is a like a utopia. Whereas heroes like Batman, they can't ignore that one person who needs help.
Yeah.
Whereas Lex Luthor can ignore that person if it's like in the big, he's a big picture guy.
And
That's why like Superman as well, right? Like, oh, Superman, if you put your mind to it, you could save the world, humanity as a whole, by focusing on these big issues.
Yeah.
Why do you waste time rescuing a cat from a tree? He's like, because I can.
And also because it's about sending a message that everybody is worth saving, right?
Yes.
It's like, okay, well, that's great, Lex, that you think about things on like a macro scale, but I need to inspire hope in the everyday person that believes that, well, when I'm in trouble, when someone's nicked my purse, when a cat's stuck up my tree, there might be someone there to help.
Yeah. And there's a great bit about that in, I think it's like one of those like DC movies where like Superman is rescuing a cat from a tree and Batman gives him shit for it. Like Batman's like, really, Clark? Everything you, all the power you've got, this is what you're doing. Why do you even bother? And it's like, because I can.
I
And Batman
just
doesn't have an answer for it. It's like, why are you rescuing a cat from a tree? It's like, because I can.
I'd have loved like a moment where that school bus of children is drowning, and just like Alfred and Bruce Wayne are driving past in like a limo, and child Bruce Wayne just gets out and is like, "Don't save me, it's not worth your time, mate." Just gets back in the car and drives away. It's like, oh no. And we've got a couple more DLC characters here, I believe, in Lobo and Martian Manhunter.
Like Lobo's just his own man. The main man does not follow anyone's rules.
That's the thing, and I'm so excited by the idea that, like, I can't remember whether it's confirmed or just rumored, but the idea of, like, look, we're going to bring back Jason Momoa, but fuck it, he's going to be Lobo this time.
He's a way better Lobo.
That sounds great. That sounds way better than him being Aquaman.
He really does suit Lobo's energy.
And he did a lot of street cred justice for the idea of Aquaman not being, you know, the guy with, like, the fucking Big Bang Theory jokes being made about him, but he ultimately wasn't great other than just being physically quite imposing.
But you also you had that in the DC show, like the cartoon. I think I was watching it like a couple of weeks ago, I want to say, where in that show, that's where he walks into the United Nations and just says, "I'm the fucking king of Atlantis, stay off my property," and just throws like 14 like cruise liners at him.
Yeah, and in Injustice, he still has a traditional look, but he is like big buff blonde man who just doesn't take shit and is like, I'm gonna just wage war on the earth. Like, fuck it. Stay away from Atlantis, you fuckers.
He also has like one of the best supers as well. It's like, okay, you're world shark now. Now what?
he drowns the screen and a shark just eats you, right?
Just infinite sharks, fuck you.
And then we move on to Dick Grayson, who is Nightwing. Specifically Dick Grayson. There is an alternate skin where it's Damian Wayne.
Now, he joins Superman's side, right? That's why Batman gets mad.
And that's why he also gives shit to Batman, is because he's like, why the fuck did you get on Superman's team? And he's like, you're not much better, Batman. Realize this, okay?
You're this far away from being what he is.
And again, he would be if Superman wasn't then, like, given that notch to turn up to 11 of just, like, murdering children and shit.
Yeah.
Like, ultimately, Nightwing's wrong because of the extra scenes we get to see, but they're both making points that aren't as far away from each other as Batman might want to think.
And in the universe in which they live, where you can have a character like the Joker escape from prison every week, perhaps a more definitive end to his story is required.
Yeah, and you've got another character here, Raven, Karl. Can you guess which side Raven's on?
I think she's on no one's side, right? She's just neutral. She's controlled by Trigon.
She's on regime too, Karl.
Yeah, I guess Trigon wants it.
And
another
then,
orphan. Another orphan for Team Superman.
We had Scorpion, who's a DLC character.
What side's he on?
Hell's side.
Scorpion.
I guess, is he on the side that just, like, murder people? It's good.
He'd love it. He's like, oh, Superman, I heard you killed Joker. Did you do a fatality? He's like, yeah. He's like, sick. I'm on your side.
He's like, oh, I saw you laser out somebody's eyes. That was sick, bro. He's like, no, that was a child Scorpion. Scorpion, not gonna lie, he'd probably be a little bit hype about that anyway.
No, but the thing is, if you told Scorpion, why did Superman turn evil? Because someone killed my family. That's why Scorpion.
Yes,
he'd be 100% on board of like, why did you turn into a raging asshole? They killed my family. Got it. Say no more.
Okay, so Dark Titan in chat does correct, doesn't say. It's the Damian Wayne that joined Superman after accidentally killing Nightwing, who he then takes the mantle of Nightwing, so...
Did he trip and break his neck or something?
I don't know, but, like, yeah, thank you for the correction. It's... Damian Wayne is the alternate skin, but he's the one in the story that joined Superman. And that makes more sense of him being the one that's pissed off at Batman, because he's always the one that's pissed you off Batman, right?
Yeah, that's it. Another orphan for Team Superman. Let's go.
Then we've mentioned Shazam before. Like, he may be incorrectly picking Team Superman over there and having some regrets because he's just like, ooh. Apparently you're right. Apparently he does accidentally break the original Nightwing's neck.
Well, to be fair, if you're like,
yeah, fair.
If you're trained by Batman and you somehow break your neck, it's like you probably weren't trained that well.
Oh, but well, I don't know whether they classify as orphan or not. I've got no clue. Next one is Solomon Grundy.
He's on Batman's side, right?
He's Superman as well, Karl. There's a lot of people that join this regime.
Zombie.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing I remember about Solomon Grundy is that A, he was one of my mains because his grapple combos were awesome, and B, because he had the outfit where he was in like the Mafia get up.
Yeah. Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday, died on a Tuesday. That's the thing is that he says the poem as he does his combo. That's the
cool
he
does, yeah.
He says the Solomon Grundy poem as you do like his full chain grab.
And I think I can't remember, does he do the same poem every time, or does he mix it up depending on what combo you pick or something?
He mixes it up depending on what you do.
Yeah, I thought so.
Like he does the Solomon Grundy born on a Monday, died on a Tuesday, buried on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's great.
And obviously Superman on Superman's team, Wonder Woman. Unfortunately, just like, as you say, immediately just becomes like fucking Goebbels over there. Just
like as soon as she sees Superman kill Joker, she dusts off that SS uniform and slaps it on.
The second one.
Like she is so, and the thing as well, like not only is she badly written because she instantly turns into like a Gestapo officer, she is so horny for Superman to the point where it's actually laughable. Because Superman's whole justification is, hey, the one woman I love died and I'm grieving, and Wonder Woman swoops in to try and like skis on him and get that Super D.
And she does get that Superman D, second one. She absolutely does. Like, they are a couple in that story.
She takes advantage of his grief to manipulate him.
Yes, she does. It's like, yeah, that ends there because Zatanna and Zod are both DLC characters again, and it's great introducing Zatanna as DLC because, like, if she just joined the insurgency, it's like, I'm literally, my only power is magic, and Superman's weak against magic. Let me at him.
Yeah.
And it's not his only weakness, obviously, this is kryptonite, but, like, his biggest natural weakness is just a weakness to magic.
Yeah, because he just doesn't know he doesn't know how to deal because his powers are entirely physiological.
And generally over the like different comic books of like generally kept the weakness of magic pretty intact, but a lot of them give him like a built-in resistance over time to kryptonite because it's like,
yeah,
fuck it, Lex has done this enough times. Like I've built up some resistance to Lex just having a fucking little rock of kryptonite in his pocket every year.
There is that great moment though, where because Lex Luthor keeps it in his pocket, he keeps a piece of like kryptonite in his pocket, just to remind Superman that you can't mess with me, and it gives him cancer.
You know what, Lex Luthor? I know Lex Luthor thinks in his head, "What the?"
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like he does that, and then he gets like cancer because he's just it's like, you kept a radioactive rock in your pocket for like 2 years. What did you expect to happen, you idiot?
And obviously, not many of the original group do join Batman's team, as we say. Bunch of parallel reality versions that have not been like influenced by evil Superman have come over to like balance out the teams. But it does say a lot. The one thing I noticed going through that list is maybe arguably like a couple of them, like Hal Jordan and Cyborg and Nightwing, like you could kind of have arguments for whether they are or aren't super, but basically everybody that is outright like, I am a superpowered being, immediately joins Superman's side.
Well, because they know that like he'd fucking murk me second one. Because like if in a situation where Superman turned evil, he's instantly going to kill everyone who poses a threat to him, right?
Well, he
So
doesn't,
obviously,
clearly.
it'd be the first thing he'd do, right? It's like, well, I'm gonna fucking join him because most of them, because I said in the second game where they arrest Superman, everyone who was on Superman's side except for Wonder Woman, puss out and join Batman straight away
Yeah.
because they were just scared of him, and they all say we were scared of Superman, that's why we joined him.
Yeah, and like that's the thing is, you would think that the people who have got more justification to say that are people like Harley Quinn and Deathstroke, not fucking like Shazam and what, like Doomsday, Sinestro, Black Adam, Bane, Killer Frost, Aquaman, Raven. Like, those people have got way less of an excuse than fucking Harley Quinn stood there with a baseball bat like, yeah, I've got this.
She does have Superman pills though, so.
But they didn't at the time. When they made that decision, he had not yet incorporated that technology. It's like, man, like, fair play to Deathstroke, like, fuck it, I'll shoot him anyway.
Yeah, it's like in the Suicide Squad game up till it like just the story goes off a cliff. I do love that they spend a good portion of the game saying when like Amanda Waller says you've got to kill Superman, and everyone's response is how?
Mm-hmm.
It's Superman.
Yeah.
Like, you want us to kill him? It's like, we'll figure it out. So what do we figure it out?
It's like, what figuring out is there? It's Superman.
And that's what I love. His just pithy remark of, like, you've made a mistake here, Clark. It's like, I'm not the one fighting Superman.
Mm-hmm. And just as a note to end on, because I know that like a couple of people in chat have already mentioned it, and people in the comments will no doubt be like, talk about it. Obviously, this game's development kind of came after Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe happened in 2008, and then Mortal Kombat had a reboot in 2011, and then Ed Boon continually wanted to like, hey, we're both under Warner Brothers. I'd really like to continue trying to make a fighting game using this DC Comics license. So then, they were still had the restrictions, the amount of violence they could put in the game. However, Boon intended to push the teen rating by replacing violence with crazy over-the-top action instead.
Which I prefer. I'm not the biggest fan of Mortal Kombat's violence in the newer games because they've gone to such effort to flesh out characters. It doesn't feel like, for example, like you can have Johnny Cage brutally murder his own daughter.
And it is so realistic now that it makes me slightly more uncomfortable than think it's badass.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, it doesn't look realistic, but it looks realistic enough where I'm kind of like, oh.
I just feel bad doing it.
Yeah.
Especially that's when there's characters who like you have Johnny Cage brutally murder his own daughter and laugh about it, which just makes him seem like an awful character.
Mm-hmm.
Despite all the effort they've gone through to write him as a likable one.
Yeah. And just when asked if like the characteristic violence from Mortal Kombat would influence Injustice, Boon just replied that he wants to keep the two titles as separate entities, which after...
It's weird when you're going to put Scorpion in it, right?
After Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe, like, I get it, because that game was hampered on both sides by both properties.
Yeah, like you couldn't get the Mortal Kombat style fatalities in it, but you also couldn't get superheroes action because you can't have Superman in that game without him just dominating everyone.
Well, yeah,
so
like what's like
Scorpion.
Cyrax gonna do against a guy that could laser through the planet, right?
Yeah, it's weird as well because Cyrax is like technically he's faster the most characters.
Okay, maybe I picked the wrong character there.
Oh, Cyrax, sorry, Cabal.
Okay, yeah.
Cyrax the robot is pretty strong though. But that's the thing, like, we don't know how strong Sub-Zero is. Because like I know when like they released the Omni-Man DLC, a bunch of people were like, what the fuck are they going to do against Omni-Man? It's like, well, Scorpion's pretty fucking strong. It's just that he's always fighting other strong people. It's like Johnny Cage is descended from a god, I think.
Wait, what?
Like he's descended from a Mayan death cult that bred warriors to fight for gods.
Oh.
And that's why he can do the green glow.
Again, I just thought it was silly Mortal Kombat thing of like, they're good at karate, he's got magical powers now.
No, he has got magic powers, and those magic powers make him pretty fucking strong. And like a great detail about Mortal Kombat that you'll see in the background of stages is when they're punching each other, like just buildings behind them will crack.
Mm-hmm.
That's how fucking hard they're hitting each other.
Still, that's probably not quite as hard as like true
Superman
form Superman could hit, right?
Yeah, but there is some like great lines with Cabal, for example, where he's I forget who it is he's fighting, but I think it might be the Terminator or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or one of the heroes that Cabal can fight, where they ask him like, "So how fast are you?" Oh no, it's Raiden when he fights Raiden, or Raiden in Mortal Kombat, and it says, "How fast can you go?" He's like, "Oh, as fast as lightning strikes," and Cabal goes, "Man, that's slow," which suggests he's faster than lightning.
Or it might just be braggy, right?
He might be bragging, but he is pretty fucking fast.
He is, yes.
He was just a dude, like he was a cop. He was just a police officer.
And it does state here that Injustice runs on Unreal Engine 3. And you did know that, like, man, I remember just, like, mentioning I'm going to, do Injustice before, and you're like, this game looks bad. And, like, I remember at the time going, man, this game looks great. And then Injustice 2 looked way better.
Like, you just need to look at Wonder Woman's face. Like, speaking of done dirty, Wonder Woman looks like a monster.
Well, I think just done dirty in general, because obviously alluded to the fact that, like, Monolith got shut down and Wonder Woman gaming ain't happening anymore. They're looking through the list of DC games to see if there was, like, other Wonder Woman games. Injustice, obviously, she's in. There's Justice League game she's in. She's had, like, one Wonder Woman game, and it was a shitty mobile spin-off game that no one's ever heard of. Like, Wonder Woman has been done so dirty in video games.
Like, she could have been like DC's answer to God of War.
Yeah. Very literally. Like going through just
like Greek mythology.
Like a Greek pantheon.
You could even put like a cool like interrogation system in there with like the lasso of truth.
Yeah. She's got multiple
undercover sections because she's a reporter.
Got multiple different like weapon types between like, using her fists. Got the bracelets, the sword and shield, the lasso.
Like, can you imagine as well? You'd have a super sick like parry system in one of those games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine like a cool like parry system where you got like parry like bullets properly to like launch them back at enemies?
Yep.
Or like lasso combos of like basically like use them like the Blades of Chaos.
And instead, she's had one shitty mobile game, and that's all I could find in a list of like 100 DC video games. Like the list went on through about 30 Batman games before like one that conceivably might have had Wonder Woman even existed.
Oh, Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Anyway, Karl, I think that's all I need to say about Injustice, a great video game that we're both massive fans of, and maybe we'll delve into Injustice 2 at some point in some day. But I need to just quickly take a quick break and
no problem.
Then we can be back in a couple of minutes. And in the meantime, just, if you've got an affinity for either Injustice 1 or 2, let us know who your main was in those games. And in the meantime, enjoy Big Sinister Cat.
Oh, it's so sinister.
Oh my God. Here we go. Big Sinister Cat. Not medium Sinister Cat. Big Sinister Cat.
Ginormo Sinister Cat. And the way you put it up, like the ginormo sinister fish.
I've put it up. I just need to find some.
No problem. So you ready to rock and roll there? I can go grab myself some more water?
Yeah.
Okay. Back.
We are indeed, Karl. We are coming straight back in.
Disappears.
The big Sinister Cat is gone. We're back to small Sinister Cat.
what would you do if you like left your house later and just saw Sinister Cat?
Well, like, it's one of those things of just like, every now and then you'll just be walking down the street and you'll just notice out the corner of your eye there's a cat just like dead eye staring at you, right?
Yeah, there's one of my neighbours. I've not met them, but every now and again I'll walk past the house and they never have the lights on, but their cat just sits in the window. It's really, when I go out for like a jog or something, it's like really freaks me out.
Oh, God. I love that because it really surmises cat, so doesn't it? Like, it was already sat there staring and waiting for me.
It knows, yes. Do we have any housekeeping to do, Monfrere, before we move on to my wiki for this week?
I think we noted a couple of things to briefly mention, other than just, while we're live and stuff, and just in general, just the general like, subscribe, comment, etc. It all helps us out. Go check out our Patreon and our Discord to help support us further if you'd like. But just other than that, I think just to mention, like, I do have a Twitch channel, Legend of Kanto, and inspired by a conversation that we had but has not yet aired. I believe should be coming out this weekend. I, in fact, started playing the original Legend of Zelda game.
Congrats to you.
So I played some of that last night, and I had that thing of like, oh, okay, it's Legend of Zelda, so like, very original NES game. It doesn't tell you very much. It's just kind of like, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this, and like, I know a lot of
football then, did they?
I know a lot of people will have only ever seen that via like pop culture osmosis of like the memes and shit. But that's how the game opens. Is like, there's a cave in front of you at the spawn point. If you walk into that cave first, you'll get a sword. If you don't walk into that cave, you'll have nothing. And fuck you. Like,
games didn't mess around back then. Like, both by design and because they just lacked the there was no fidelity, or the fidelity to tutorialize stuff like that to the player was not available. That's why stuff like guidebooks and things were so popular.
Or a lot of the time the games were designed with the knowledge that people are going to have things like Nintendo Power and, make them obtuse so that they'll go and call the helplines for help and stuff, or like, just generally like help kind of socially engineer the game in a way that you'll want to be talking to like people that you know about the video game and like, I found a secret over here, etc.
We were talking about Mortal Kombat. That's one of the things that got that series so popular, was the numerous secrets, like adding in stuff like Ermac and Reptile.
Yeah, and it's just one of those fascinating things of like, I went in, and it's like, I just happened to come across like level 1, which is the first of 9 dungeons. I was like, cool, beat that in a few minutes. Like, it's not a massive game by today's standards. Like, I finished that off pretty quickly, being a veteran of Zelda games at this point, but then like ended up wandering around for a while, couldn't find another dungeon, got a couple of like key items, got killed quite a few times by like Lionels and shit that I just wandered into the wrong fucking area of town.
Yeah.
And then I ended up finding another dungeon, and it was level 8. And I walked in and it was like immediate boss fight in every room, like, oh!
Okay. Games back then did not care.
But it's been a fun experience, and I got through the first, like, 3 dungeons in the end. Only minorly helped by guides here and there, but got a few upgrades, a few dungeons done. I was like, this game actually, like, is a fascinating experience to go back to. And just, Dr. Titan in chat did mention as well a thing that I forgot to put in housekeeping notes, but it is Pokemon Day tomorrow. So there is going to be Pokemon information going out, and instead of doing like a live stream to it, what I'm going to do is record my reactions and then edit it down, because I know half an hour of that is going to be information on like Pokemon Sleep and Pokemon Cafe remix and shit. And then I'll post that over on our Patreon as just a free video for everyone to watch, just so it doesn't like affect our analytics or anything. But expect that to be up tomorrow at some point, as I will give my live reactions, but they will be edited down for the sake of like not having to sit through all the boring shit.
Yeah, sounds good. And like, I've got no housekeeping. Like, I've not streamed on Twitch much, so I've just been busy. I've got stuff to do in my own personal life. Like when I stream on Twitch, it's because I want to play the game, and I've just been really, really busy. like with other things. So maybe I'll stream on Twitch at some point in the future. But I've got to mention the super chat, which is Dragon in the West talking about Phil Mitchell needing his crack.
Just says Phil Mitchell needs his crack. Here's some money for introducing me to that. And I hope you mean the clip of Phil Mitchell needing his crack and not crack itself.
Yeah, and the reference for anyone unfamiliar is the British soap opera EastEnders, where to mix things up a little bit, they had an arc with one character just randomly getting addicted to crack. Because soaps didn't give a fuck in the early 2000s.
And they still don't, right?
They don't. Remember where Ian Beale got kidnapped? Because the actor wanted to go on holiday. So well, how do we get how does the actor take a day off? He got kidnapped.
Could they not have just written that the guy gets a fucking holiday?
He went on holiday, or just don't have storylines with him in for a while.
Yeah,
no,
he just becomes the background character for a week. Let him take a day off.
Yeah. Phil Mitchell just needs his crack.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the super chat, Dragon in the West there, but. Yeah, I guess that's all we need to mention before moving on to your wiki, Karl. And you mentioned it was something to do with golf.
Yes. So specifically today, I'm talking about a golfer. And Lucas, I'm guessing you don't follow golf as a sport because it sucks.
No. However, my dad for a while was into golf and watching golf, and I also took golf lessons for several years. So I'm like familiar with the sport. I just don't watch the professional level of the sport.
In which case, you're probably better than today's subject. So today's subject is Maurice Flitcroft. And are you familiar with the name Maurice Flitcroft? I'd be surprised if you were.
Not at all, no.
So this is quite useful because it's Wiki Weekends, or Wiki Weekdays, I should say. We're going to have the wiki here to guide our hips. So Maurice Gerald Flitcroft, born in 1929 and died in 2007, was a British golfer. Flitcroft received widespread attention after shooting a score of 121 in the qualifying competition of the 1976 Open Championships, which, for anyone unfamiliar with golf, is, and still to this day is considered to be, the single worst score ever recorded at the Open Championship by a professional golfer.
And by all means, for amateur golfers, that's probably a score that happens every fucking day.
Yeah, but it is the single worst score ever recorded at the Open.
And to clarify, that just means that what was the score, Karl?
121 over par.
Over par.
I think it was 121 over par, yeah.
Over par. Okay.
I think so.
If I just say that 121 divided by 18 is 6.722 recurring, so that means that they would have averaged nearly 7 shots per round, per hole, which is already not good, especially on a professional level. If you're saying that's over par, that probably means they took
we'll find out.
Maybe over 10 strokes per hole at least.
Yeah, so Flitcroft was a self-professed professional golfer, having been an inexperienced golfer several years before entering the competition. Subsequently, he gained significant media coverage, being referred to as the world's worst golfer. So we're talking today about Maurice Flitcroft, the world's worst golfer. So we can talk about his early life. It's mentioned here he was born in Manchester in 1929. Not much more to say about that. He worked briefly as a crane operator, other times as a polish salesman, and a high diver and an ice cream seller. I mean, so quite eclectic career.
Yeah, other than, just to have to give that general, boo to Manchester as someone who lives in Liverpool.
Well, yeah, he had a fairly reasonable upbringing, as reasonable as someone can have when they grew up during a literal world war, and just had numerous careers, including a high diver and a shoe polish salesman.
Yeah, I was going to say, because they must have, been born, grown up after the First World War, and then thrown into World War II, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And we have here his golf career. So this is what makes up the bulk of his Wikipedia entry. According to his unpublished memoirs, Flitcroft took up the game in 1974 after watching the Piccadilly World Match Play Championships. Flitcroft had golfing ambitions well above his ability and came to notoriety in 1976 when, posing as a golfer, he managed to obtain a place and play in the qualifying round of the Open. And how he actually got there is a subject of much debate because he didn't have any credentials. He was just a guy. This would be the equivalent of me and you somehow ending up at the Olympics. Just by
yeah,
bullshitting and saying,
I
sure,
imagine though,
let me
like,
go do the high jump.
nearly 100 years ago, it's a lot easier to like sneak your way in.
It is, but at the same time, this is the highest level of professional play, and he just somehow managed to sneak in. And the way he did so is no one really knows. It's like, obviously, to admit so would have been very embarrassing, so he kind of just got away with it, and it's become like law because it happened long enough ago now where it's like legendary.
See,
And
nowadays, if someone would have been like, he's not wearing the actual like correct slacks that everybody wears in golf.
yeah,
Like they would have
there's
noticed,
that
like,
one
oh,
guy
he's
who does
not
that.
keeping to the dress code. Get him out of here.
So, despite his previous experience amounting to, by his own admission, casual play on the fields near his home, Flitcroft recalled, and I quote, "I was looking to find fame and fortune, but only achieve one of the two." He was inspired to enter the tournament by Walter Denecke, a postal worker from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who entered the 1965 Open after telling the R&A he was a pro and set a 2-round score of 221 during qualifying.
This reminds me of the story of the guy that went to the Olympics for swimming that couldn't swim.
Yeah. Do you have any jokes about like getting to the Olympics? That's happened, and we can no doubt cover that one day in the future because I have that guy. I don't recall his name off the top of my head, but he is definitely one of the wikis that I've got on my ever-growing list of wiki suggestions. There's also Eddie the Eagle,
Yeah,
the amateur long jump. Is it not long?
no, ski jumper.
Ski jumper. I just know they go a long distance. The
They
ski jumper.
They jump a long way. Yeah.
Who didn't know how to ski.
Yeah, and like
story is
obviously
interesting.
that was a film, right? With I can't remember. His name eludes me.
It's Taron Egerton.
Taron Egerton, that was it. Yes. So yeah, like that was one of those of like that's been, dramatized in a movie. More people will be aware of that story, but there's quite a few knocking about, right?
Yeah, there's a few people who just somehow managed to make their way to sporting glory or infamy.
What's it called? Cool Run-Ins, which is based off a thing that happened, but is really dramatized and really not really what happened.
It also, as well, like speaking of done dirty, it does the Swiss team dirty because they're portrayed as, if not outright racist, just inexplicably dickish towards the Jamaican team.
But apparently in real life, like pretty much every other Olympian team was really on their side and helpful, right?
Yeah, the Swiss team lent them some of their equipment.
Yeah, yeah.
The Swiss team who were the villains in the movie, it lent the guys in real life their equipment.
And like everyone was on board with, fuck it, these guys don't know what we're doing, but we're all going to help them try.
We're saying they earned their spot to represent their country. That should be celebrated. That's what the Olympics is. And yeah, but that's, again, a story for another day. So, when Flitcroft discovered that any amateurs entering the competition had to have an official handicap, something he lacked because he'd never played before, he simply declared himself to be a professional. And here's like one of the funniest parts of his story, because the way he got around not being found out is when they asked him what his professional credentials were, he'd just leave. Like, you get people like Joe, you getting interviewed, like, oh, so where have you played before? He'd be like, and just leave. You just leave the room.
You know, one thing I have heard people like similarly for job interviews start like doubling down on is the idea of NDAs.
Yeah, just say, oh, it's the classic, right? When you get asked, what's this gap in your resume? I signed an NDA.
And like, it's becoming like a thing that people are sharing more and more online of just like, yeah, if you have a couple of years of like, where, you're not comfortable with saying what you did or you were employed or whatever, say you were tied down by an NDA, and then when they ask you to break NDA, you're like, well, you wouldn't want to hire someone that would break NDA, right?
Yep.
It's like, it's the perfect. I mean, it's way more perfect an alibi than walking away.
Just not saying anything, right? And here's the thing as well, it was pretty obvious that he didn't know what he was doing because while he was walking around at this tournament carrying a book on how to play golf he borrowed from the library and would hone his skills on a nearby beach in between games. His gear comprised of a red imitation leather bag and a half set of clubs he purchased by mail order.
God,
so he didn't have a full set of clubs. So his deception was uncovered when he managed to score a 49 over par 121. The worst score in the tournament's history, a record that stands to this day quite dubiously. Some of the other professionals playing with him were so angry they demanded a refund of their entry fees. Australian golfer Mike Cahill, who was playing behind Flitcroft, stated, and I quote, "I just snapped at the 12th hole and accosted him. He later said, I yelled at him that this wasn't a circus and told him to get off the course." Which,
Yeah,
you know
so
what? That's the part where I don't like it. Like,
no, of
no,
course.
fuck it, I like this guy.
And yeah, the 1-2-1 was his final score then, so it averaged 6.7 strokes per hole.
Yeah.
But that's where I thought like 1-2-1 over par sounds insane, because as you say, it was like 49 over par or something.
Yeah, so I don't really understand golf scores. I just know that he definitely went over par.
Well, if he's like 40 something over par, that means 40 something over what like a reasonable golfer is expected to get as a standard score.
Yeah.
Which
and
might not sound like a lot, but when his final score is 1-2-1, that means like the par is somewhere in like quick maths, like the 70s, right? So that's a lot.
Yeah. And just as well, I get that it brings the sport into disrepute, but the moment other golfers start yelling at it, hey, he paid his fees too. Fuck you.
Golfers,
he paid his fees, and they let him in. It's not his fault.
A lot of the more traditional, like more pompous British sports are just in that way culture-wise, right? Of like obviously like a famous movie that will kind of like showcase it. It's a bit exaggerated, but Happy Gilmore, right? Which shows how much of an asshole everybody is to Happy Gilmore in the golfing community because he's just a regular dude. And
yeah,
honestly, in real life, it's not that far off going to like pro golf courses and stuff. And I've experienced that shit as like someone who's not particularly, you know, loud or brash or anything. Like, I've had plenty of people look down on me because like I say I wasn't wearing like the right loafers or something on the golf course, and I'm like, I was 18, I didn't have any money or a job.
Yeah, and that's why like these figures, like your Flitcrofts, your Eddie the Eagles, they're fucking heroes in my book.
Mm-hmm.
And this dude needs a movie because Lucas, we're not done yet. So. The R&A gave him a lifetime ban from their competitions, and he became known as the Royal and Ancient Rabbit. And when I say they gave him a ban, they specifically wrote a new rule that explicitly banned Maurice Flitcroft from competition.
Fucking hell.
So they wrote a new rule to say he specifically was not allowed to play.
What if he legitimately went, okay, hands up, I'm going to go learn golf?
Exactly, and that's why it's a dick move. And Flitcroft took one look at these, like this new rule, and went, well, you banned Maurice Flitcroft from playing.
Did he legally change his name?
No. So what he did is, following the change to the rules, he regularly attempted to enter the Open and other golf competitions under either his own name or pseudonyms such as Gene Paychecky, Gerard Hoppy, or James Bo Jolly. Other more ludicrous names include Arnold Palmtree, Arnold Palmer, and Count Manfred von Hofmannsthal, together with physical disguises including a large comical mustache dyed bright red and oversized sunglasses.
Okay, now I'm 100% on board.
Yeah, I'm 100% down with like, 'cause you know what? At a certain point, you've got to blame the official who let in Arnold Palmtree, the man with a 4-foot wide red mustache, right? When like, who's playing next? It's the Dr. Robotnik looking motherfucker over there. It's like, at some point, it's not his fault, right?
Oh, God. You gotta just respect the effort. And, like, that's the thing is, I thought, you know, go down, like, the route of legally changing the name. Apparently, that's way too formal and too much effort. It's like, fuck it, I'm gonna wear some oversized sunglasses and make something up.
Yep. Flitcroft's celebrity led to a number of golf trophies, usually those celebrating poor play or egregious mishaps. So you get like the Flitcroft Award if you like, just absolutely fucking spoon the ball into the water or something like that.
The thing is, that's like there's awards that he's got. There's awards like potentially named after him. The person has earned fame at very least, like if not fortune.
Exactly. But... yeah, it's what he said. He wanted fame and fortune, but he only achieved one of those things, which is the fame.
Yeah, like I don't know who jobber number 8 on that score list of the Masters this year is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you remember the guy who the worst. So that's the thing. It's like
I don't necessarily remember him, but the golf community as a whole do.
Yeah.
God, yeah.
That you can achieve, like, if you can't achieve fame, achieve infamy.
Yeah, right.
And there's some people who've achieved infamy in sports by being good. Notable example is Bobby Pierce, the rower, where he was the guy who, midway through an Olympic competition, stopped because some ducks were crossing in his path. And he stopped in full view of people stood by the side, let the ducks pass, waved to them, and then kept going and won.
That's got to be embarrassing, right?
Because as well, while he was waiting for the ducks to go in front of him, the other guy he was competing with took over.
Yeah.
So he thought he had the win. And then just imagine, like, you think that and you see the guy who literally stopped to let some ducks go past, overtake you and win.
It reminds me of, like, especially when he was a bit younger, like the amount of races that Usain Bolt would win, even in, like, the Olympic finals, where he would just start slowing down and go like this for, like, victory.
He'd celebrate before he crossed the finish line.
Like, he was celebrating and slowing down before he'd even hit the line.
Yeah, to the point where, like, he's probably past his running prime now.
You would imagine.
We probably won't know how fast he ever could have ran, because he never ran as fast as he could, because he didn't need to.
And I would have guessed that, like, maybe there's some world record that he set, or, like, personal best that he set, or something, like, that is him just running at full speed the entire time. But every time I at least watched him in the Olympics, he almost never finished running at full speed.
Well, I think his world record, like the 9.81, I think it is. If you want to double check, like, his actual world record time, that's the one at the Olympics that he didn't run full speed the entire time for. So he theoretically could have ran even faster, but I guess he didn't need to. And the other Olympian I can think of who did something similar to that is Kate Ledecky, the swimmer, where she frequently wins by such a large margin. She's literally the only person on screen, because the camera has to follow whoever's in front, and she will normally, like, literally lap people. And there's one Olympics where she broke, like, 15 world records in one day or something, and, like, half the records she beat were records she set that morning in qualifiers. Like, she'd break a world record during qualifying, and then during the finals later that day would break the world record again from herself.
So we're kind of, like, pretty on it with looking up Usain Bolt's record, Karl.
Yes.
When Googling Usain Bolt 100-meter time world record, 3 days ago on Olympics.com, Usain Bolt reveals I could have run faster than my 100-meter world record, and it was 9.58 seconds.
There we go. That's the thing, he doesn't even need to say it, because you can see, like you said, he was slowing down. And the detail that everyone always forgets is he was running with his shoelace untied.
And apparently he was, like, having injuries across the period of the time as well.
And he was hungover.
It's like everything was going against him, and he still set a world record.
Not to mention as well, like, his physical build is the exact opposite of what they believe made an effective runner, because Usain Bolt's like 6'3", 6'4". A sprinter, sorry, yeah.
Yes.
So when he was training for the Olympics, they initially wanted him to be either a long distance runner, or at the very least, like a 400-meter runner.
That's where he began, right? 400. Yeah.
But by his own admission, he didn't like doing that, because he says he's lazy and running 400 meters was tiring. So he said he'd rather run 100 meters.
Which, I don't know how lazy you can call yourself when you're an Olympian sprinter, but fair play.
Yeah, he said he just didn't like running 400 meters, and it was believed that his build of being quite tall would make him a poor sprinter at that distance, because his legs are so long, it'd take him longer to get up to speed, whereas a shorter man would have a more explosive start and would be at top speed faster. But the end result is he has the unnatural ability to accelerate far quicker than a man his size, and his stride is so much longer than everybody else that one is at full speed, no one's going to beat him.
Because normally, people with longer legs and longer strides don't have the time to build up to full speed by the time 100 meters is over, where that would take any effect.
Yeah, which is why they're better suited for longer distances.
Because, like, 400 meters, if you've got a longer stride, absolutely you can run several hundred meters at full speed with longer stride distance. Whereas if half of your race is spent speeding up, you're not going to take much of advantage of that.
But he's just like a genetic freak of nature. It's like Michael Phelps, where Michael Phelps has a literal unfair genetic advantage over other competitors because he has size 14 feet, webbed toes, and hyperelasticity in his muscles, which allows him to kick his legs harder.
And it's like, you could, a lot of the time it's like, oh, but, That's like they got forced into those sports because whatever, blah blah blah. It's like no, they probably enjoyed doing those sports because they were the ones they were naturally good at, right?
Not to mention as well, generally, like the way trainers, or at least good ones, is like prepare for Olympics and stuff, is they recognize talent and they hone that talent in a specific direction and they focus it. So I imagine when Michael Phelps like was just naturally kicking ass at swimming when he was younger, a trainer noticed that, and then as he grew into an adult and just these genetic quirks that made him so good at swimming like became more prominent, they're like, okay, you've got an advantage, we should take care of it, or like lean into it, right? Because that's what sport really is
Yeah,
at the highest
100%.
possible level.
Mm-hmm.
Like Usain Bolt being very tall, or Michael Phelps having just size 14 feet and like
Or like
hyperelasticity in his
an
joints.
easy example is just the freakishly tall people that are good at basketball because they can just lift the ball up.
Yeah, and it's like even if they weren't good at basketball, you can train someone. It's the quote about wrestling in regards to I forget which wrestler it was, but it's like, hey, you can learn how to wrestle, but you can't learn how to be 7 feet tall.
Yeah, right.
It's like that's where you have like high school students who get to 7 feet tall normally get like at the very least get collegiate scholarships, even if they're not very good, because we can teach you to play basketball. We can't teach someone to be 7 feet fucking tall. Right? We can teach you how to play basketball. Anyone can learn how to play basketball.
It can't be that hard to play basketball when you're 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
But it's real hard to find someone that's 7 foot tall.
Exactly. And getting back to Flitcroft, they held. Oh, yes, the distinction of being celebrated with the Maurice Gerald Flitcroft Member Guest Tournament, first held in 1978 by the Blythefield Country Club in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Buddy Whitten, Blythefield's head pro, stated, "It started as a lark, but most people can't break 90, so they relate more to Maurice than they would a touring pro. Flitcroft and his wife were invited to play the tournament in 1988 with business class tickets for the flights provided by British Airways. By the time of the 22nd tournament in May 2000, the club featured a green with 2 holes. So that no matter how your approach, you would always have a potential reward, and also had another green with a foot-wide hole. You know what? That golf, I want to play that version of golf.
Yeah. That's getting like closer and closer to just the idea of crazy golf, right?
Yeah, frisbee golf.
Oh, frisbee golf.
Frisbee golf is awesome.
I really want to try out frisbee golf. Or like, I can't remember what they actually call it, right? Because like it's not frisbee; they call it like something to do with like throwing discs.
Yeah, because I think frisbee's like trademarks, but the problem with frisbee golf is like anything, people take it way too seriously.
Oh yeah, I tried playing ultimate frisbee once, and people were like so fucking unruly about the rules, and like I guess that's a bit of an oxymoron, but like everyone cared so much about like just making sure we were playing to like these really harsh rules. I was like, this is a fucking pickup game on a field where we've got bags denoting the scoring zone.
So have you ever played like beer pong against someone who likes beer pong, and how much fun gets removed from beer pong the moment you do that? Same with like a lot of organized sport, isn't it? Of like when you're trying to have, like you said, a pickup game, or like, you know, just chuck some like bags down on a field and have a kick about with a ball. The moment someone starts taking it seriously,
the moment someone either starts like, you know, trying to introduce too many rules, or like the moment someone's like going in with like 2-footed fucking sliding tackles, it's like, don't break my ankles. We're meant to be having a bit of fun.
Yes, and I mentioned that this guy should be in a film. Well, it turns out that he is, because Flitcroft is the subject of a biography, and this is a great name for a biography, The Phantom of the Open. That's a great name for a guy who haunted golf, right? This was later turned into a film script by the original author, Simon Farnaby. It was released in 2022 and was premiered at the London Film Festival.
So it's just kind of like a drama-sized biography kind of thing.
Yeah. And then his personal life simply reads, he was married to Jean, who died in 2002. They had 2 sons, one of whom caddied for him.
That's nice. Like,
that's just the short but sweet story of Mr. Maurice Flitcroft.
I love the idea that he's just like, yeah, he was married, he had kids, he lived a normal life, but he just fucked off a lot of pompous assholes at golf courses.
Just the Phantom of the Open.
That's great.
That's a great name, right? It's just like, oh god, just him turning like Dr. Robotnik. Unstoppable. That's the thing is, okay, Lucas, right? To end on, if there was one professional sport which you could somehow Maurice Flitcroft your way into by way of shenanigans, what's the one you would want to attempt just to see how well you do? Not like necessarily which one you think you do the best at, but which, like, if you could just say, okay, I'm going to be allowed to compete in insert random sport at the absolute highest level against professionals just to see. Have you ever heard about that like thing people want to happen at the Olympics of let an average person compete at the Olympics so we can see how much better they are?
So that you can have like you can shut the guys up at the pub who are like, I'd fucking run faster than him.
Yeah, it's like, oh, is it really a sport to do like the what is it like the speed walking? It's like it kind of is because they can walk like a mile in 3 minutes, but whatever. Well, like 7 minutes, I think it is. I think they have the average walking pace of a speed walker is twice as fast as the jogging pace of an average person. But is any of those you want to give a go? Audience at home, same question.
I think bowling.
You'd want to go against professional bowlers just to see,
like 10-pin bowling, not like boule.
Okay.
But I'd also, not that I've got any experience with it, I'd like to take a crack at curling.
I was about to say curling was going to be my answer because I reckon I'd be shit at it, but it looks so fun. And
it does.
I just want to do it because I don't think there's ever going to be an opportunity in my life to give it a go.
Yeah, like maybe we need to look this up for like a special like Wiki Weekends, you know, Christmas special at some point of like, can we figure out a way to go curling together?
Does anyone out there know where we could practice curling? Just to give it a go, because it looks really fun.
It does.
It looks super fun. And I reckon, like I said, I don't think I'd do any good. I'd love to just give it a go. And to give it a go on the world stage would be hilarious.
So the thing is, like, I know that ostensibly, when I say bowling as in 10-pin bowling and not boule, like, boule and curling are almost the exact same thing, but it seems way more fun on ice with the stones.
Yeah. The fact that all those stones come from like, the same island. Like, they all come from one island in Scotland.
It's got to be regulated, right?
Yeah, because they do. Yeah, as I said, like equipment has to be universal, otherwise you wouldn't be able to ensure that skill is the deciding factor in a win. And that island, when you see like videos of it, it's just like fucking Swiss cheese. Just obviously they go up and just cut the circles out, and they're eventually going to run out, but not yet.
Yeah.
So I think that, or potentially just football, just because I would have to like the 10, because in my head they're not allowed to like substitute me off. So you get to like the 90th minute, I'm like,
mate, you're getting about 5 minutes in. The size of those pitches, people don't comprehend.
That game would just be 90 minutes of me chasing the ball.
Oh god.
Because that's the thing, people don't realize how much, like we talked about this with like the American football. We talked about football on a Fact Fiend episode of. Footballers never stop running. They run like half a marathon.
Good ones, anyway.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they'll run a 10K in 90 minutes while also playing a sport. While
people with like nails in their feet try and like slide tackle their knees off.
Yeah.
So I think maybe like just to, you know what? I just want to try and take a penalty kick against a pro.
And that's the thing is like,
I reckon that's the one thing I probably could do. Because I bet if you just tapped it in, they joke because they maybe right,
maybe, but like I've seen a couple of ones where like get the guy from the pit, like from the crowd during halftime in and like take a penalty against the goalkeeper, and like half of the people can barely kick it like to the goal,
to the net,
because they don't realize like how big that pitch is and how far away that actually is. Like, I'm not saying people can't do it. That's an over-exaggeration, but normally it's like a fucking random half-drunk 50-year-old guy they're pulling out the crowd.
Yeah.
Who makes like half a connection with the football.
Dude. At the very least, I think I could kick the ball straight.
Yeah.
I've got and I would be I'll be the first to acknowledge that if I did get it in, it'd be 100% luck. But that's one of the things where it's something I could conceivably do, and all I need to do is get lucky once. Whereas something like boxing, it's like, I'm not going to win at that. I'm not going to be a professional boxer in a fight. I'm not going to, actually last in a game of football. Yeah,
but like, that's why I say something like bowling or curling, where like, realistically, you need to stand on a spot and throw something. Like, I could manage that, and also, it just I imagine in my head that bowling is a way more fun sport than professional bowling actually is, because again, that's one of those weird sports where like people are quite uptight about it. But
They take it too seriously, yeah.
Yeah, in my head, like the environment of 10-pin bowling should be similar to that of darts.
Yeah.
Where it's just, fuck it, we're all having a laugh and potentially having a pint. And, you know, throwing a few balls at some pins and having a laugh about it. But no, that it does seem like one of those sports that takes itself really overly seriously.
Well, it's like when you go bowling and you see that person who has like the glove and the ball, like it's like,
I'd love to get like, you know, the ball, my specialized like rainbow ball out with my face on it, and I'd get there and I'd sheen it all up, I'd give it the waxing, I'd get my glove on the go, and then I'd get
spoon it straight into gutter.
No. I'd run over and get the little like guide rail that you push it down. Just like the little thing that the kids use to push it down.
Can you put the barriers up for me, mate, please?
Sorry, what?
The other one I want to do is Ninja Warrior. Again, I don't think I'd do it.
I couldn't even get past the first obstacle, but I'd love to train and try, right?
Yeah, because it looks really fun, and I don't think there's ever going to be an opportunity for me to give it a go, because I don't have that commitment. But if they just said, do you want to try it? I'd try it and fail at the first hurdle, but at least I'd give it a go.
That's why I'd like to go on something more like Total Wipeout or something, right? Because that's like...
Not the American version, though, because they try to kill you on that.
They do. The British version.
The American version should be the British version, because we have free healthcare and they don't. The American version tries to kill people.
But the British version, at very least, is very much like a layman's version of a Ninja Warrior, right?
Yeah.
I'd love to try that out. Of like, can I run over the big rubber balls? Probably not. I'm probably going to face plant. Second
but
one.
Would it be fun to try? Yes, it would.
Until my spine goes...
It's like Takeshi's Castle, right? Takeshi's Castle looks so fun.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to give Takeshi's Castle a go.
God, yeah.
So I want it. But yeah, that's the story of Maurice Flitcroft.
It isn't.
What a great story. It's just this. Fuck it, I'm going to be a professional golfer. What's your handicap? Fuck you.
Then just walk away. Just walk away.
My handicap is fucking you. Now what?
I want to see how that goes. If like someone went to a job interview for the first time, they come under pressure with like an answer they don't, or a question they don't have an answer for, they just walk out the room and see what happens.
I do like that one where it's every now and again you just see like people in companies like, this is the job application I got today from like a student, and it's just like a picture says, please give me a job. It's like at some point that will work, because if you get a recruiter who finds it funny, they might at least call you in to see what the deal is.
I can't remember. Didn't like someone you know basically get a job by being like, I need money and I'll work for it?
Probably. I don't recall.
Of like just roughly along the ideas of like in a job interview being like, why should I hire you? And they were like, I fucking need money, so give me a job. And it's like, fair enough, we'll take a chance on you.
Sounds like a good way of doing it.
It does.
Like, I think I got one. I didn't get a job once, and I was really annoyed that I didn't. Because they asked me, it was like, as soon as I sat down and asked me the question, I knew that I wasn't going to get it, because I realised I don't want to work for this company. But they sat down and piece of paper out. Can you tell me a situation where you've had to overcome an obstacle? And it's like, I know I'm not going to get this one because I don't know the specific answer they want on the paper. So I just joked and went, well, when I first came in, I sat down on an ice cube and I've not reacted yet. And they didn't, not a single smirk. And I went, I'm not getting this job.
I still remember one time that I think I know the moment where I put the nail in the coffin of I'm not getting this job. And it was like, I think it was like for like, a game shop. I can't remember if it was game or like a different one. But I was like a teenager just looking to pick up a job, get some discount on games and shit. And everything went well, and I was having a good discussion with the person, and they were like, oh, everything looks great, sounds great, we'll contact you soon. Just one question we like to ask before, like, people leave. Do you think Batman's like a superhero? And I took the stance of like, well, I wouldn't classify Batman as technically being a superhero. Classify him as a hero because he doesn't have superpowers. And we had like a debate about this for like 10 minutes, and it was all going fine, and we were having like a laugh about it. It was just meant to be like a casual way to kind of I don't know, like an anti-icebreaker to get over the fact you've done an interview or something. But then like the shop manager walked past, and like you could see him go, "What?" and kind of walked in, butted his head into the room, and was like, "Did you say that Batman's not a superhero?" I was like, "Oh yeah, but like I don't really have that firm a stance on it or whatever. But like he doesn't have superpowers, right?" And he went, and walked back out, and I never got that job. I was like, Did you really stop me getting a job because I said Batman isn't a superhero?"
Do you know what that is? That's like the internet equivalent of like people responding to the title of a video or an article than reading the substance. Like he heard one moment in a conversation out of context and made a snap value judgment based on that.
And decided I wasn't worth it.
Like in this, we support Batman. Even when the thing is that we basically had that conversation. They debated me when I'm like, Batman's not, Superman is right.
But like, Superman's not right. Superman takes it way too far.
Yeah, and that's the thing we should clarify when we're not referring to any of that behavior in the real world. It's in the elevated world of DC Comics.
Of course, but yeah, just like I always remember that moment of just that moment where he came in and just gave the and left immediately. I was like. I don't feel like that moment went
Lucas,
well.
I won't want to work there anyway. It's a Batman. Because that's the thing, there's Batman fans and there's Batman fans.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Is if anything, that argument means that Batman's way more impressive. He's not a superhero, but he does superhero-esque things and he puts himself in those scenarios.
He's an average man who reaches out and punches the face of God, which makes him more impressive. But again, weird, salty Batman fans would not listen to the latter half of that explanation. They just hear that you said something negative, or they perceive as negative about a character they like, and would immediately shut down.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, and just before we wrap things up, Karl, we have another lovely super chat here from Dragon in the West again. So thank you very much, and just say the guy you described reminds me of the Jesus from The Big Lebowski. Nobody fucks with the Jesus, and I'm going to look up the name of that actor just quickly because what a phenomenal performance in that movie.
Okay, go on.
Like,
bring him up.
You obviously know Jesus in The Big Lebowski, right?
It's been a while. Go on, remind me.
Really? Okay. I thought this is like one of the most like kind of famous movie roles that I can like think of just like it's iconic, Karl. Let me send you a picture of Jesus.
Okay. I'm waiting.
It's going through on Discord.
Oh, John Turturro.
I would guess so, yes. Doesn't immediately say here, but yeah, I would presume so.
I think it's John Turturro or John Toretto.
John Turturro, yes.
That's
it, yes.
I know him as well because I've been watching Monk recently, and he plays Monk's brother.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he plays Monk's brother, and he's really good in that role. He's a great actor.
He's a great actor, and like, yeah, I always thought that like people always like the one character I think of when I think of like bowling. It's not like bowling in The Simpsons where they have like the bowling team there. Like the first thing I think of is Jesus in The Big Lebowski. I think
Fred Flintstone.
That's a good show. And do you think of animated or do you think of John Goodman?
I think of John Goodman because John Goodman's also in The Big Lebowski.
True. He's the other character in that scene.
Before we go, like John Stowe, we mentioned like Happy Gilmore. He's in like Don't Mess with the Zohan as like the Zohan's like antagonist, and John Turturro has one of the funniest fucking scenes in that movie. It's like a blinky and miss it shot where a building catches on fire and his character runs in to fist fight the fire. They don't pay much attention to it, but they just pan over him in a building that's on fire, and he's doing karate moves on the fire, and it's so fucking funny.
Oh god, one of those character actors where I don't remember them being in like a leading role, but you always remember them when you see the roles that they're in, right?
He's in like the Transformers movies, right? And just acts circles around Shia LaBeouf.
Oh god, I think I've only seen like 2 of those movies.
He's in the first 2.
It's been a while as well. I didn't really feel the need to rewatch them.
That's it. He's just one of those actors where you're always going to get an absolutely stellar performance out of him.
You are indeed. But guess that's all we need to say for today, though. Just ending on like, fuck yeah, John Serro.
Cheers, Roddy. Have a nice day.
Hell, goddamn. Thank you for watching, everyone.